If you're looking to get your first bow sight or your next bow sight, I'm going to give you guys details about the two most common types of bow sight that you guys are going to find at the shop. One of them is going to be a single pin like this bad boy right here. This particular sight is a Spot Hogg Hogfather. We're going to go ahead and get into that just a little bit, do a brief overview of each individual sight, and then we're going to compare the two, and hopefully you guys can pick which one might be a little bit better for your needs when you're hunting. The other one that we have here is the Trophy Ridge 5-pin. I've done individual videos on both of these. I'll leave links somewhere up in the top you guys can click on. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. You have to ask yourself two questions when you're actually picking out a bow sight. The first question is going to be, where are you going to be hunting? What is it going to look like? What type of terrain are you going to be hunting? Are you going to be hunting in super thick timber for whitetails? Or are you going to be all the way out west hunting antelope in the middle of the plains in Wyoming, and you're going to be shooting out to 100 yards trying to poke an antelope? That's the first question you're going to have to ask yourself, is just what is it going to look like? How much, cover, and we're going to get onto that here in a minute, why that's important. But the second question is, what am I going to be hunting? And that kind of feeds into the where are you going to be hunting. But I think it's super important that you know what you're actually going to be hunting. That way you can just kind of better yourself for what sight you're actually going to need. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the 5-pin. We're going to do a brief overview, like I said in the intro, over each one of these sights, and then we're going to compare both of them and give pros and cons, just so you guys have a better understanding of which one might be better for you. So a 5-pin like this bad boy right here, these are great sights, and I really think that these shine in the whitetail woods. I think they'll shine in the out west scene too, but I'll get mostly into the whitetail woods. These are pretty simple to sight in, and typically a pro for them is they're typically a little bit cheaper and more budget friendly than a single pin. They do make more budget friendly single pins, but if you buy a budget friendly single pin, typically they're going to be lacking some key important features, and they're not going to have as great as durability. So this sight right here is the Trophy Ridge 5-pin, like I alluded to into the into the intro of the video. But I like this a lot. One, it's super simple. You don't have to have that secondary thought like you do with the single pin, where you have to dial for your exact yardages. This one, the yardages are already prefixed and set. You just range whatever you're going to be shooting, whether it's a target or an animal. You put the coordinating pin to that target, and you just go ahead and go through your shot process, and typically it works every single time. In fact, it does work every single time if it's set up correctly. And I did a video up there that you guys can check on how to do a fixed pinned sighting in process. I think that video is going to give you guys a lot of insight on how to actually sight in a fixed pin sight. But I like that because anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and I've had that happen to me multiple times when it's been elk hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting. Just if something can go wrong, it can go wrong, and these are pretty bulletproof and sure safe that they're going to work for you whenever you're hunting. They're pretty simple too as far to get set up compared to a single pin, but we'll get onto that here in a minute. I like these because they have the multiple pins, but I also don't like this because it just depends on who you are. But for me, I don't know how well you guys can see all 5 of these pins, but that's 5 pins covering up the kill zone of a deer. And for me, I have super bad ADD when it comes to looking at something in a sight picture. The sight picture is actually what you're looking behind your scope. And this is your scope, this is your actual sight. So this is going to be the scope on the sight itself. And what I mean by that is if you just look at a deer and you have 5 pins covering the vitals, for me that's so hard for me to focus. I'm just looking at so much right there, where I'd rather have a single pin where that's 1 pin poking out and actually picking a spot on the deer. Now some of you guys that might not be a problem for. I'm just probably just a weird entity in that mix of that group where I don't know, I don't really know how to aim with these as well as I do a single pin. I know how to get by with them, but I'm definitely a lot more, I'm a lot more successful with a single pin because I just know how to aim with those a little bit better. But 5 pins, super simple, a little bit more budget friendly. It could also be a gift and a curse, like I said, with those pins being in the sight picture. Pretty easy overview of how these work. They're just a simple mount on the side of the bow. You do your individual pins and then get your adjustments, and you're all good. Now most sights that are fixed pins don't come with micro adjustments like your higher end single pins. Your lower end single pins that I was telling you guys that I should try to kind of push you guys away from, just save your money for a nicer single pin, but we'll get onto that here in a moment. These are going to come with micro adjustments. This specific sight does, and I like that a lot because when you're shooting and you're doing a walk back tune, and I keep saying I'm going to do a video of a walk back tune, we need to make a t-shirt of that or something, but it's going to make you more in tune with your sight and yourself. But I definitely like these fixed pins. Now let's go ahead and get on to a single pin, and I'm going to tell you guys what I like about single pins. So this is a Spot Hogg Hogfather. What do I like about single pins? First and foremost, like I said, I like having only one pin covering the vitals and the scope housing looking through my sight picture. I like having only one thing to aim with and to look at when I'm actually looking at my deer or my target. That's going to help me out a lot when I'm shooting further distances. You're covering up less of the target so you have a better field of view and you have more perspective on what you're actually aiming at. I like that quite a bit because if you can aim at something and you can see exactly what you're aiming at and everything around it, to me personally, and what I've taught other people, I feel like that makes it to where you can hit a lot more accurate because you know you have perspective of what's down range. You know, with a 5-pin, you know, the further your target goes away from you, the smaller it's going to look, and with a single pin that's going to help you out a lot because you don't have 5 pins covering a smaller target at distances. So an advantage with the single pin, I think, and I should say I think because it's not factual, but it's factual for me, is that I do a lot better shooting further distances because you don't have as much covering up your sight picture and your actual target. Now, a pro and a con to these is these typically are made a lot more durable. This sight that I've had, I don't know how long I've had with this now. Like I said, I've done a video over it. I have beaten this over and over again and it has not broken. I've had a great success with it. Now, how much does this sight cost? Well, this sight, if you were to buy this brand new, I think it's like $500. I'll leave a link down from Amazon link down below so you guys can check this out if you're interested. Whereas you buy this sight brand new, this is $100. So you're talking about almost 4 or 5 times the price difference here. Now, what do you get with that price differences? Well, one, you get more micro adjustments and toolless adjustments. That's one. Two, now that people kind of put this as a disadvantage, I think it's a great advantage for this sight, is you actually have to shoot these really well and you have to get super in tune with your bow, your sight, and your shooting form in order to be, you know, sufficient with these. And the reason why I say that is when you're actually sighting in your tapes, you actually have to do a walk back tune. Like I said, I have to do a video over, but you have to do a walk back tune in order to know, you know, where your marks are and when you're putting your sight tape on. Now, a big caveat to that and a con is me sometimes, like I said, I have ADD with those 5 pins, but with a single pin, sometimes I have ADD and I don't adjust my sight. That is a big holdup for a lot of people. So, and what I mean by that is these pins on this, so if you guys see this tape here, this white piece of tape, and you see this purple little indicator mark, there's actually 2 dots on here for a single pin, but it's a double stack. These 2 dots correspond with a yardage on here, and that's where the top dot and the middle dot, or the bottom dot, excuse me, is going to be hitting. So let's say you get in the tree stand and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be shooting 20 to 30 yards. Well, I'm going to set my top pin to about 25, and I'm going to set my bottom pin to about 45. Some sites you don't get to make those adjustments. You just, whatever the tape says, whatever the tape says. That's pretty much how it goes. But what I mean by that is, like, well, let's say the deer comes in at 45. You're like, well, my bottom pin's, you know, 35. I have to lock this or unlock this, and I have to dial my sight to 45 so it's hitting where I'm actually going to be aiming, and I'm not going to shoot low. That can be really bad if you're not paying attention, and I've heard so many stories of people that forget to dial. I've done it myself, where I've dialed too high, too low, or I just forget to dial in general. The more and more you use these, the more and more that less common that becomes, and it'll become of an issue. But I think that's something you guys really need to consider when you're looking at which sight you need to buy. One thing about these sights sights really shine with faster shooting bows. So if you're shooting a heavy poundage bow and you don't have to be shooting heavy poundage, but if your arrow speed's pretty fast, these are going to shine because you're going to have less drops, so you can get away with dialing less. And what I mean by that is if I was going to be shooting 250 feet per second, my 20-yard pin and my 30-yard pin might have a gigantic difference, or will have a gigantic difference. But if I'm shooting 300 feet per second, my arrow's not dropping very much, minuscule amounts between 20 and 30 yards. It's still going to be shooting very flat, very consistent, and that's a problem that you really don't have to worry about with these sights when you're shooting a little bit faster setup. So typically I always tell people, if you're going to be shooting something faster or higher poundage, typically shoot one of these bad boys because you're gonna love these. I've switched to a single pin when I was, I want to say 15, 14, somewhere in there, and I'm about to be 22, so that gives you guys a little bit of insight how long I've been shooting this single pin. It's been great for me. I take it off and on my bow all the time, and I've had no issues with it. I am going to build new arrows, and I'll take you guys along that too. But now we're going to get on to the pros and cons of each sight. I'm going to give you guys what sight you might want to pick. If you're a beginner, I'm definitely going to recommend this sight to you. This is a 5-pin fixed pin sight. It doesn't have to be this exact sight, just a fixed pin sight. One, just for the first and foremost, it's simple. Not very much goes into it. You sight your individual pins, point, shoot, aim. Or point, aim, shoot, sorry. Just simple. It's fail safe pretty much. As long as you have your pins set to where they actually need to be set and you have your known distance of your target, you're not going to go wrong with this bad boy. It's also more budget friendly. So if you're not sure that you're going to love getting into archery, or you're not going to be sure that you're going to get into archery for a long time, sorry, words are tough, this is a great option for you. You're not going to be spending 4 or 5 times what you're going to be spending on for a good single pin. And and that's not even a super high, it is a super high dollar single pin, but they make more expensive single pins now. Like the Ultra View slider, I think that's like $700 to get into with the scope housing and everything. The Excel Achieve is like $500, $600, $700 with full setups and everything. So this is more budget friendly. So more budget friendly, it's easier to use, and typically it doesn't have as many moving parts, which makes it just more fail safe as far as mechanical issues. That's the pros to this. Now the pros to this: 1, it is less in your sight picture when you're actually aiming at whatever you're aiming at, whether it's a target or a deer. 2, they're typically more reliable as far as their micro adjustments and everything that they have going into them. 3, they're more durable. And cons to this is that it's more expensive, and you have to make that conscious movement in order to dial your sight for whatever you're aiming at. So those are just some things I wanted to give you guys for this week's video. I'm going to do some broadhead reviews coming up in the summer, so if you guys are interested, definitely subscribe and leave a like. I also want to hear, what are you guys shooting for this year as far as a bow setup and sight? Leave me down a comment in the description. Or in the comment section, not in the description. Leave me a comment down there, and I just want to see what you guys are shooting. If you guys have any big hands, just give me a comment. I just want to know what you guys are up to. You guys give me so many positive feedback and comments and likes and everything and shares. So I just want to be part of the community that we're trying to grow on this channel. So if you guys could join us, I would love it. I love making videos for you guys. I have a lot planned for this bow hunting season and duck hunting season, and we're just now getting started. We're going to get into the heavy target shooting and everything here pretty soon. So with that being said, I hope everyone is doing super well, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.